Okay, so
oh shoot, Mama, what'd you do?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Without a title.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Let's go with it. Alrighty. Line us up here.
We're live.
Yay! Good. Oh, hold on. Sorry. It's a Thursday evening. Welcome to Unstuck Unplugged.
3-3. March 3rd.
March 3rd. Look at that. And I'm Dave, and this is my beautiful wife, Marcia Ann.
We are the Condons, C-O-N-G-D-O-N-S, but the G is silent. So, Condons, not Congdons.
Yes, that's fun.
Sometimes it's fun.
Hey. So this is our ministry.
Yeah.
And this is what we do on Thursday nights. We just get together and we chat and talk. And this is actually part 2 of a 6-part series on Bitterroot judgments and expectations.
Expectancies.
I'm sorry, expectancies. Yeah.
And it really could be about a 12-part series.
Yeah.
An hour long each one, but
we'll keep it short.
We don't have that. We like to just keep these Thursday night
short,
unstuck unplugs as short as possible.
Yeah,
just to get it out there. And
and if you need to go deeper, we're always available.
Yeah, we're here, and then we're thinking of even doing classes here eventually. We used to have a school ministry called Search that we did for about 3 years and had classes and topics like that. So we might. We're praying into it. We're pressing into it and see if we're gonna. If the Lord wants to lead us that way, we'll do it. We'll do it.
We're open for it.
Yeah.
So, needless to say, last week we touched on a few topics of the bitter roots and judgments, and then we had one that fired up on me when I was here. Imagine that. I still got some. Yeah. So that was about being asked questions. That's a Bitterroot trigger point of mine.
Explain that so they can understand it. Unpack. I love that word.
Unpack. Well,
unpack it.
I'll unpack it. Basically, one of my Bitterroot judgments is one time back in 5th grade. I was being asked questions and didn't really know the answer, and I was made to be embarrassed.
You were made to? So wow.
Yeah, he had a lot of power over me.
Did they hold you down and put a staple into your head?
Well, the person of authority was my
he
teacher.
was an authority. Okay.
So yes, and I wasn't, and so I was in class.
So your teacher.
My teacher. Yeah, that's that. The person in authority, instead of encouraging me, help me out, shamed me basically. So I made some judgments based on that, and so
what would you have judged at the age of 11?
11, yes.
So what would that look like as an 11-year-old?
I'm going to be more sure of my answers, and maybe I don't answer, or maybe I'll just say I don't know, or whatever. So
did you judge the teacher, or did you judge yourself?
Good question. I don't know. There's a question you asked me, and I don't have an answer, so I'm going to say I don't know.
Question.
Look at that.
I need to start okay, so.
I think it was more about just being embarrassed and sent to the back of the class and sit at a desk in the corner. Was quite embarrassing for me, and I didn't like that, and so I don't like when people ask me questions and I don't have the answer, because I'm afraid if I give the wrong answer, I'm going to be sent to the back of the class, be to sit at the desk and be shamed for it. So
it's kind of a trigger or trauma reaction versus
a
judgment.
So I have, true, maybe.
It's kind of a mix of the two.
Yeah, and so maybe that's a different subject then. All right.
Hi guys, thank you for joining us.
Hey. So it's a good question.
We're discussing something when Dave was in 5th grade, and he got a little bit triggered by it last week in part 1, where I asked him questions, and he'll react. And he gets tense and nervous, and so that's really a trigger response is what I would refer to that. The brain sees it as trauma. The brain says, danger, Will Robinson, this is an unsafe place. let me close down, which is probably what you did as a fifth grader. Did you kind of shut down
I
away?
absolutely did.
So his fifth grader is coming forward and is running the show at that point. And that's why we say to heal where you were broken. So many times we heal thinking, we heal and today as whatever age we are, when we need to heal from the place where the wound came in. Because there is a difference. There's a difference of how his 11-year-old's going to see it versus his 50-year-old. Sorry, I know. There's going to be a difference because there's a difference. There's several stages of development, emotional development that he went through, and maturation and things that happened in your life that you grew in wisdom and so forth. So your 53-year-old is going to view that completely different than your 11-year-old.
Right.
So that's why it's important to go back to where the judgment might have occurred, back to where the trauma might have came in, the wounding of the heart, and receive healing and forgive from that place. And sometimes the child doesn't want to forgive because it was hurtful. I mean, you've gone after that one a while, haven't you?
I have. So I'm expecting that to happen to me.
He's expecting to be asked questions, and he's expecting to be shamed for not responding properly, so he'll set himself up for it.
Right.
So he'll even get nervous and agitated and edgy when even a question comes, which therefore the person asking the question is going to possibly react to that. Right. And therefore there's the bitter root. But he's producing it because the person asking the question doesn't. They're like, I'm just asking you a question. And so he's also becoming, I want to see, this is so important for you to get this, you will produce the character trait of the person who wounded you as well when that bitter root pops up. So what he does then, he becomes the teacher towards whoever's asking the question. And he shames the person who is asking the question of him.
Before I get shamed. Before I get shamed.
Yeah, he's doing it first.
Look at that.
So that's where we have to understand how bitter roots work. They come in a place of innocence sometimes where it's even just a wish. Gosh, I wish my mom would do it this way, or my dad would have done it that way. Anytime we say woulda, shoulda, coulda, it's judgment, and we can do it towards ourselves. The Holy Spirit showed me it's so simple as a wish, but when that wish is placed within the heart, along with some bitterness, and it grows and grows and grows, it becomes a judgment. And as that grows, then we start producing it in our day-to-day lives, and we will attract people to us that will also come alongside that. So we will, therefore, we'll just say, Dave's bitter root, since you seem to be in the hot seat, your bitter root of not wanting to be asked questions that you don't know the answer. So it brings about fear and anxiety. His brain shifts to the left side of his brain because that's where fear is held. That starts running the show. So he's now even answering from a place of fear. He's no longer from the frontal lobe. He's coming from the left side of the brain going, okay.
Yeah, my CEO isn't working anymore.
I've become a bear. I'm no longer who I am, or whoever's asking him the question. They're now a bear, and they've come to get him.
No, it's only questions that I don't know the answer to.
Right. Oh,
because if it's something I'm very well versed in knowledge, and I'm cool and easy with that, but it's just the stuff I'm unsure of the correct answer.
Right.
Yeah.
And so then pride steps in.
I don't have any
pride.
Anyway,
pride.
This is actually.
Pride.
I got to save it for that one. There, we'll talk about that later. This is off our last session. We're talking about one of the things that happened on our part one for those just joining us.
So back to what he produces then, or he'll attract me. And my bitter root, or I will call it BR, I was as well shamed for asking questions of my dad. And he would get very frustrated with me when I asked him questions of problems in math or something that I didn't understand. And having ADD as a child, you don't grab a hold of things so quickly. And for me, it was math. I got most of the other subjects, but math I struggled. It was an area that I struggled. So I went to my dad because my mom wasn't very good at math. So I went to my dad. Well, when I didn't get it the first time, and really it's even the first time, he got very agitated and frustrated with me, and so therefore it's an area that I judged as well. So when I just simply ask him a question, then I get triggered too, because now he responds in a very similar way that my dad did, because the fear and the frustration, and then we trigger each other. And so his bitter root is an expectancy, actually, then therefore we attracted each other to each other. It's almost like we will attract at the level of our healing. So that part of us, kind of in a sense,
right. But we didn't really know it was there until we came together. So.
Yeah, and that's like people who say, "Oh, I'm not getting in a relationship until I'm completely healed." I'm like, well, good luck with that.
And we were completely healed before we got in a relationship.
But I was.
And then we got in a relationship, we're like, oh, dang, there's more to go. But yeah.
So that's when you recognize where you still need work.
Right.
And fine-tuning, and what you might have overlooked is once you get in relationships, because that's when you start walking alongside someone in day-to-day basis and doing life together. And so you might not necessarily do that. Of course, you're not going to do that until you're actually in the same home and sharing the same, doing chores together, doing life together.
Right.
So, I don't know. We want to make this as least complicated or confusing as possible, because it can be very confusing.
It is sometimes very confusing. Sorry.
It really can
Stuttering.
be. Yeah.
Sorry.
And but the reason why bitter root judgments, we believe the Lord's highlighting that is because it produces distance, and it almost
it's a disconnection.
It is a disconnect in relationships, and we believe that so many marriages end in divorce due to these bitter roots, where if the bitter root was dealt with, it would stop.
Sure.
They no longer would be triggering each other. They would recognize it quickly. You no longer would be in that place of wanting to isolate if you're an isolator, or run if you're a runner, because you would be understanding, oh wait, I'm producing this. This is my bitter root. I'm the common denominator. This is something that's happening in most of my relationships. I need to stop and look at it and see what the Lord wants to do here, to heal, because the Lord desires us to heal and desires us to connect. And so when we don't go after the bitter roots, when we don't understand what's producing the drama, so to speak, because they will produce drama, we're kind of staying stuck. We're staying stuck in our poop. And we're going to then Havilah Cunningham had done a series one time, and she almost set it up as yards.
Right.
And she did little fences, and she said, "This is person's yard, and this is person's yard." And there's these cute little fences. She had balloons, and she wrote words on the balloons. And some of them were really pretty, hope and joy, and then these were other negative words. But she said, "This is kind of what happens is you start." It's almost like what I see is if you are a dog owner and you let your dog poop in someone else's yard, and you actually open the gate, walk into their yard, go, "Okay, boy, okay, girl, go ahead, go potty," and just leave it there. And then you go back out and you shut the gate and you go back into your yard. And then that other person does the same thing. So you're actually like making messes in each other's yard, not cleaning it up. And where the Lord's just like, no, you need to just work on you and your heart, and where you've made judgments, because when you made judgments against other people, you made judgments against me. And he's bringing to mind Galatians 6:7, where it says, "Do not be deceived. God is not mocked, for whatever one sows, that will he also reap." So we're not to take a stand or a stance of judge. That is God's job. And so when we do judge, even if it's harmless, it's an area where the enemy has legal rights. Yeah. And he can come in, and then he has legal rights to basically you in your life,
Right.
and who you're in life with, and your generation, and your children, and your children's children. And that's why you can see these generational, just the continuation of the generations after generation of whether it's addiction or whether it's divorce or it's just, just mom and daughters not getting along, fathers and sons not getting along. I know even in your family, there's that history of dads and sons that just have this kind of relationship, and that is bitter roots. And it started probably a very long time ago with a father and a son, and judgment, and where then that curse comes about. That where you're not to mock me, do not be deceived. You're not to mock God, and you will reap what you sow. So in this place of judgment, and the seed that was sown, his generation, it could be who knows how many generations further, is still reaping that. They're still harvesting the fruit of what the original seed was. So we have to be, to me, the number one place to start is let's look at the fruit. Look at the fruit, see what it's doing. Is it just with women? Is it just with women in authority? Is it with men? Is it just with, what would you say, well, it has to be with either women or men.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
No, I'm not going there. That's not.
I know. Yeah.
Stay on track.
That's true. I will say
It's men or women.
But it might be just people in authority, or it might be people that are alongside you. Or it could be even in relationship with other men. Whether you're a man or a female, male or female, just relationships. It can be just with your children. So it's just something to be mindful of and to see, like, okay, wait, this is what the fruit looks like. There seems to be always an issue here with two women, or look at that too. It seems like I'm always in a relationship with, there's three of us, and I wind up being rejected with the other two. And if that continually happens, there's a good chance there's a bitter root.
Which that
What?
was one of yours.
That was one of mine.
Yeah, back.
Because I had two sisters, and at one point
got rejected by them.
they rejected me together. And so, there was a bitter root that was formed, and so I kept on reaping that. But with two women. It was anytime I was in a relationship with two other women.
Right, when you're in a group or something like that.
Yeah. So
A circle of friends.
But I had to look at myself
see what
to see what
are
it
you
was with
producing.
me.
Right.
Because once I was healed of it and I released the judgment and started being aware of if I was producing being standoffish, or who knows what I was doing, I had to look at it as to what
producing
my
them to
part
reject you.
Yeah. And once I changed that, then it stopped happening.
Right.
And then I stopped. Well, I had passed it down to my daughters too. That's the part. That's why you got to get it. Because I had already passed it down to both my daughters, and they were also having issues with women, and usually with two women or two girls. So I had, you just showed me that, Akers.
But that's part
why
of
we go after it too.
That's why you go after the healing.
Right. And it's not about shaming yourself or anything.
No.
This is just about
Don't.
having awareness and then doing something about it. Change is okay. Change is beautiful to me. I think when you don't change...
No, you're just going around that same mountain. And you're never getting anywhere in that mountain. You're never climbing the mountain. You're just going around the mountain. It's okay to go around a mountain, but you need to climb up the mountain as you go around it.
She'll be coming around that mountain when she comes.
We're singing today.
The other thing is just to look back, like 5 years. I know it's a lot, but you can tell a lot of what's happened and if anything has changed. Think back about 5 years and where you were then, and even list it and write it down, and how you were with relationships, and what did your relationship with your mom look like, or with your dad if he's still around, or sisters and brothers, or co-workers. If you were, married then, and are now, look at it and say, well, what brought the separation or the divorce? And you've never been married and you desire to. Why hasn't that happened in 5 more years? You just look, if you were sick 5 years ago and you're still sick today, just look to see where there hasn't been change, or where there has been change, because it requires sometimes the littlest adjustment in our day-to-day life for change to come. It doesn't have to be this huge grandstand, shift, and oh my gosh, that you just break through. You felt the earth shake. Oh, so it's so little. It's just even a mindset change, but it can produce different fruit because it's a new seed.
Mm-hmm.
So I found that one of the ways that I even recognized bitter root is that I happened to be cleaning out a side table. It must have been about 12 years ago or something, before I'd even had my Jesus encounter. And I discovered about 6 or 7 journals, and I started reading them, and it was like repeat. It was a different year, maybe a different guy, a different job, whatever. Could have had a different hairstyle, but it was the same outcome. The same outcome, same prayers, same, please Lord help me here, please Lord help me there. And it was like an awakening, one of those, whoa, okay, I am going around in circles, and I've got to stop this. And it was probably one of the times that I'd have to say that I had one of those epiphany moments, and I recognized something within myself that needed some change. And that's okay, and it's okay to recognize it.
It's good to recognize
it. To me, it's not okay to not do anything about it.
Right.
And just to say, it's all their fault. It's his fault, it's her fault, it's their,
just the way
I'm who I am because he did that to me and she did that and they did this, and if they wouldn't have said that, if he wouldn't have done that. Yeah, that's giving a whole lot of people a whole lot of power. And that was something else I had to realize, is I had to stop giving so many people so much power over me and have them defining who I was. And I had to make a shift there too and recognize, no, wait, only God defines me. And I just wasn't going to be, in a sense, giving away my inheritance and my riches to all these other people. So, yeah. You got anything, Bud?
Nope. We're about time.
Okay. He's the timekeeper, too.
21 minutes.
You need to be like that bunny rabbit. You need a little, from Alice in Wonderland, where he runs around.
I'm late.
I'm late. Keeping up the
So someone's got to do it.
Yeah, I know. We want to honor, too.
Yeah, so I do.
All right. So
we'll
hopefully.
do part 3 next Thursday.
Yeah.
We'll dig deeper, and we'll start getting into some, I don't know, cause and effect, or
we could. We'll see what he presses on our heart as far as to release. We might even have another couple on too, to share their perspective of bitter root and how it played out in their life too, because it's important to see how it's going to show up in relationship.
Yep.
It's not going to show up by yourself. So it will show up in relationships. So, and the Lord desires us to be in connection and happy, and joyful, and that and that is our portion.
Full of hope.
He's going to end in prayer.
Sure. All right, Father God, we love you, Jesus.
Yeah,
you're amazing, Lord. Thank you. Thank you so much for calling us yours. Holy Spirit, thank you for being our teacher and our paraclete, and just being there and helping us to see what the Lord is showing us, Lord.
Yeah.
So I just ask that everyone watching and listening to this can actually receive all those things also, that they can become aware of where they may be hanging on to something that they need to let go, or where there's a pattern that they need to change that pattern. So I just ask that you, in this next week, give them the opportunity to recognize the bitter roots and be able to go after those bitter roots and get to the root of that bitter root, so that they have a different fruit, Lord, because this is about having good fruit and not having bad fruit. So Lord, I just actually bless them with a week of revelation and a week of changed fruit, when the fruit is bad, to good fruit. In Jesus' name.
Yeah, really, I got an image of him like hosing you off. Ooh. So, Lord, we just ask that you would just hose them off and rinse them clean of anything, even words that came on them today, Father, that might have stuck to them. Father, I ask for you to release them off where they might be even carrying burdens that's not theirs, Lord. Just release them and wash them clean in the living waters of heaven and restore with those waters, Lord. Restore, renew, rejuvenate, resuscitate, Father God, and that you are a God for connection. So just I ask, Lord, even for this week, that they would receive an encounter with you that's like no other, and that they could even just sit in your lap and enjoy your company and just even learn more about you, Father, because it's in that learning that we grow. It's in that yearning that we excel and we go to higher heights with you. So open wide your gates, O ye heavenly gates, and just release your anointing power upon them, Lord. In Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen.
All right. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram.
Share us. YouTube. Yeah.
I think that's about it for now.
And if you want to get on our emailers, which I send out once a week with other little things, just PM me your email and I'll include you.
And we'll send you into the email.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Night, everyone.
Bye, guys.
See you next
Night.
week.